Awesome. So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm Tina and I'm on the Sunshine Coast. I don't know if any of you are near me, and I know you obviously are. And I've been an advocate of natural health since I was a teenager. I learned that everything you put on your skin only takes 26 seconds to get into your bloodstream. And so that kind of, when I look back, that's where it all started for me. So after years and years of trying to get at what's underneath the symptoms that I see on a day-to-day basis, I was then working with Rhonda in her capacity as a functional nutritional therapist. And after my brain came back online, my menopause weight started shifting slowly, and I got my motivation back and my energy. And yeah, I haven't looked back since. So that was I'm on my 6th year of being on activators, so you're going to find out all about those shortly. So tonight I am going to introduce you to these two very knowledgeable women who I work with very closely, and they, like me, are very passionate about how to best reduce the stress in our bodies. So both of these women are going to share their stories and take you on a journey to empower you to know there is something you can do to help your body cope with the stressors in this crazy world that we're living in right now. So first of all, I'd like to introduce you to Kelly Downing. Now, Kelly initially chose the beauty path as she knew that she really wanted to help people, but she soon realized she actually wanted to go deeper and to find out more at, at that deeper foundational level of what's going on with the body. So she then discovered spinal flow technique. And as you saw just a moment ago, I'm also a certified spinal flow practitioner, and that's how we connected. So then our conversation led to me sharing with her what I feel is the perfect synergy for any appointment-based business with these products that go along with our hands-on treatments, because people can't come and be in our clinics on our tables every day, but they can absolutely be supporting their bodies at that foundational level every day with these products. So Kelly, I am going to hand it over to you. I'd love you to share a little bit about your journey, please.
Great. I think you've summed up that, it's really the theme of my life about being interested in health. And my interest in health started long before I was in the wellness business. It came from my own experience with chronic pain, fatigue, and a range of symptoms that really affected my life. It honestly left me housebound, gets me emotional, more often than not. And many people, I've just spent a lot of time looking for answers, like many people, and understanding why my body wasn't functioning the way I wanted it to. And that journey eventually led me to spinal flow technique and working with the nervous system. And it completely changed the way I understood the body. Today, through my work, I see people who are experiencing pain, fatigue, stress, poor sleep, inflammation, anxiety, and I really could go on and on. But one of the things I often encourage people to do when working with me is look at the different types of stress: emotional stress, chemical stress, physical stress, because our bodies are constantly responding to what we're exposed to, right? And the more I've learned, the more I've come to appreciate just how intelligent the body is designed. It's constantly working to regulate, adapt, repair, and produce energy. So for me, wellness care is about helping people understand how their bodies function and what they can do better to support themselves. And that's really important to me. I don't want to simply help someone with the symptom that brought them through my door. I want to give them a better understanding of their bodies so they can make more informed choices about their own health, really. And that's why I'm so excited about this conversation. I've been interested in nutrition and supplementation for a long time, but more importantly, I've actually been looking for information that I can confidently share with my clients and my family and the wider community. When I started learning more about cellular health and energy production, it immediately aligned with what I'm passionate about. I want to understand what's happening within the body and how we can support it. I've also started noticing some changes personally. Before activation, I felt like I had a lot of inflammation around my head and changes in my hearing. Like I actually couldn't hear my husband and my kids from my left ear, and I kept having to say, "Please talk to my right ear." Within a few days, I noticed a shift and no longer have hearing issues. I've also noticed much more consistent energy throughout the day. That's my personal experience, but certainly made me even more curious about what was happening underneath those changes. And ultimately, that's why I'm here. I want to keep learning, keep asking questions, and most importantly, give people a better understanding of their own bodies. And if we look at it through the lens of the nervous system, which I work with Spinal Flow, it is the master controller of all systems. Then we need to consider what the nervous system is communicating with. That's the cells, right? So I'm really excited that Rhonda is here tonight because she can take us much deeper into cellular health, energy production, and activation. So I'm going to hand back over to you, Tina, to introduce Rhonda. And thank you, Rhonda. And thank you all for being here tonight.
Brilliant, Kelly. Absolutely brilliant. Love that. So yes, let me introduce you to functional nutritional therapist Rhonda Muller, based in Mackay in North Queensland. So Rhonda's journey into health began after her children were dealing with their own health challenges. But the significant challenge was her youngest son. He was diagnosed with level 3 autism. Determined to understand what was happening and help him regain his speech and his ability to thrive, she immersed herself in nutrition, gut health, cellular health, and pediatric special needs. That was her big focus. So her journey ultimately resulted in her son having his autism diagnosis removed, which is just incredible as a mother. I can't imagine what that would have been like. And I know it was on Rhonda and her partner's wedding anniversary. She tells that story that they heard that news. So how magical. So in the process of advocating, researching, and doing everything she could to support him, Rhonda burned herself out, not just the once, but the twice. It was a big deep dive that Rhonda was doing to try and help him. So after that, she also was caring for her father-in-law through his Parkinson's journey. So that gave her a very personal understanding of what prolonged stress and constantly caring for others can do to the carer. We don't take care of ourselves when we're looking after somebody else. And that was her experience. So today, though, Rhonda runs her own clinic, supports clients across a broad range of health challenges, while also mentoring and educating customers, consultants within her LifeVantage organization. So she has served on our LifeVantage Field Advisory Board, which is an incredible opportunity to be asked to be on that board. She's attended numerous scientific advisory board trainings and has had the opportunity to learn directly from cardiologists, pediatricians, chiropractors, and so on. So multiple scientists from all around the world. She made sure she was in the room with as many of those as she could. So her areas of passion include the functional nutrition, mental health, starts with the gut, as we know. So the gut health, the cellular health, and helping people look beyond their individual symptoms to understand what may be happening underneath, which is what all three of us have said. That is where we've all started, really, from our own perspective. So what I really love and appreciate about Rhonda is that she has this incredible ability to really take the complex science, because there's so much science behind what we're going to talk about, and she explains it in a way that people can actually understand. And you're going to hear exactly how she does that right now. So over to you, Rhonda. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tina. And thank you so much, Kelly, for organising the call tonight. And I absolutely loved listening to, your perspective on the nervous system. And I hadn't actually really heard your own personal story before, Kelly. So, yeah, I could feel your energy, and I don't know, I feel other people's energy. So as soon as I could feel your emotional, I'm like, where did I put my tissues? But yeah, thank you everyone for coming and making the time out of your evening. I am really grateful. What I want to do now is take that conversation from the nervous system right down to the cell. And if you haven't already, grab yourself a pen and paper, get yourself comfortable. But before we do begin, a quick disclaimer: the information we're sharing tonight is educational purposes only. It is not intended to diagnose, treat, replace personalized medical advice or your relationship with a qualified health professional. This is, for individual medical advice, please speak to your healthcare professional. So now with that out of the way, I want to ask you one thing tonight. Keep an open mind. Some of what I will be sharing may be completely new to you, and that's okay. But I just want to raise the point. In 1840s, around 1840s, Dr. 𝗥𝗨𝗪𝗧𝗘𝗗, who is pretty much like one of my heroes, was working in a maternity hospital in Vienna, where women were dying from what was called back then childbed fever, and which is pretty much like sepsis, right? And he noticed that women cared for in doctors' maternity clinics were dying at a much faster rate than women in midwives clinics, right? The doctors and the students were performing autopsies and then examining women in labour. There were no gloves, no germ theory back then, no hand washing. And he questioned the difference, and the changed the practice, and that death rate really plummeted. And unfortunately, he didn't get to see it actually take hold, because he was ostracised, criticised, and it wasn't implemented until decades later. So today we think, well, of course, wash your hands, but back then it wasn't considered something that we should be doing, right? And so his findings challenged, right, the accepted medical thinking, and like I was saying, was resisted. So what I'm here to talk about tonight is that sometimes knowledge exists way long before it actually becomes, something that we implement. So tonight, as we talk about the nervous system and cellular health, I want you to stay curious, right? Hang around. If you want questions, if you have questions, go back to the person who cared enough to invite you, because we're talking about biological pathways that already exist within you and how we can influence them through the choices we make. So please don't wait for something to become mainstream before you're willing to have a look at it or learn more about it, because knowledge alone isn't power. It's applied knowledge that's power. So let's get cracking. All right. So yes, the purest and most valuable commodity is information, but it's what you do with it. Okay, so stress. Stress is pretty much, I think we would all agree, is the silent epidemic. And stresses come from all over, like Kelly beautifully explained. It's not just emotional stress, it's environmental stress, genetically modified food, right? Wi-Fi, the processed foods, pharmaceutical industry, all these things. And what we're seeing is that not only is it like the emotional stress, but it's also the physical stress and the financial stress. And then also social media, the stresses that we're getting from that, technology. And so many people are living paycheck to paycheck, yeah? So workplace stress, caring for a loved one, which, you're burning the candle at both ends. And I think, put a number 1 in the chat if you've gone through that, some kind of significant stress, because I think majority of us have gone through something like that. And so I want to bring to your attention, I'm not going to read through all of these, but when you have a look at it, like 33% of people report feeling some extreme stress. Yeah. I think 43% of adults suffer adverse effects from stress. 75 to 90% of all doctors' visits are driven by stress complaints. And then we've got 31% of adults say stress is the biggest health problem, anxiety disorders, etc. And in Australia, 61% of workers are reporting burnout. And I can totally relate to that, burning myself out twice, just working, to recover the health of my family, my son and my father-in-law. It's a lot to juggle. So pain, joint discomfort, 1 in 3 Australians, 29% live with chronic musculoskeletal conditions. 15% live with joint discomfort, and it's more common in women. Headaches, migraines, 1.73 million Australians report this, and women are 2.2 times more likely than men to report a migraine. 1 in 6 live with long-term migraines. Then we've got ADHD, 10% of children and approximately 6% of adults. Yeah. Fatigue, energy, and I'm talking considerate energy, or, like for me, I had major adrenal fatigue. My hair was falling out. I couldn't get into my own clinic. I was totally burnt. And there's over 219,000 Australians with females more likely to be affected. And 52.3 Australian women live with at least one chronic health condition. So it's getting really, to me, it's not just alarming. I see it as an epidemic. And it's not just a stress, it's not just a feeling, it is a public health emergency. It's not just destroying how we're feeling, but it's also impacting on our families and the wider community. So when stress becomes chronic, it attacks every part of your life, including our body at a cellular level. And this produces something called oxidative stress. And so when the stress becomes chronic, like I said, oxidative stress is that buzzword. A lot of people have heard it before, some people haven't, but it's scientifically recognized to cause over 200 diseases and conditions. And this one here, surely you know someone with one of these issues, one of these conditions. It's impacting your brain, your heart, your kidneys, your skin, joints, immune system, blood vessels, lungs, eyes, etc. It does not miss one part of your body because it is systemic. Yeah. It's going to impact every single cell, every single tissue, and it's pretty much cellular rusting. It's like an apple, you cut it in half, or a banana, leave it on the bench. What happens? It goes brown. It's that rusting. We can't avoid it. If you're breathing, if you're a mammal, you have oxidative stress. If you can hear my dog snoring in the background, he's got oxidative stress as well. I apologize if you can hear him. And it's not just, us as in, we hit 25 and that the levels of oxidative stress start to climb, but it's even more prevalent because of our environment is way more toxic than what it was 50 years ago, 100 years ago, because of, the Wi-Fis and the pesticides and the herbicides and the chemical load that we're putting on our skin. We cannot avoid it. And then we see each generation is becoming weaker and weaker. And I see it in clinic that children today have high levels of oxidative stress, the same of someone my age, near 60, 70-year-olds, etc. And this is where we see it. It's really alarming to me that we're seeing all of these rates climbing off the chart. And it's not all doom and gloom because there are things that we can do. Yes. And that's why I love what I do. And when we're, looking at the science, because I'm 100% natural, but I'm also backed by science. If I can't see that there's legitimate stuff out there, then I'm not interested. And it always has to be natural. But when you go onto PubMed, and this is like the research place where health professionals, doctors go to do their research, right? And you type in oxidative stress. This one, I think I only did this like 2 or 3 months ago, the screenshot, and it was just over 39,000. Today, as of the 17th of August, there's over 41,463 pages. 2 months. 2 months, it's jumped up. That's how much science and all of the well-known, respectable, like these are PubMed peer-reviewed studies. So it's not just something that I've come up with and chucked it onto PubMed, right? This is all legitimate. And then this one here, you can see the incline has started around the year 2000, but you can see here 392,000 results. Now it's over 414,000 results. Again, studies, it's huge. And so before we completely geek out on what we've discovered, let's just admit that we know that a certain amount of stress in our lives is completely unavoidable. It is what it is, right? My daughter's getting married this weekend. There's a lot of stress going on, but it's about how we manage it. And so traditional methods to reduce stress include what? Our self-care. And I think we're all pretty good at that now. We've got a lot of education and stuff. It's helpful. It's, healthy. It's important. It's relaxing. But unless you address what's underlying the root cause, the cellular effects of stress, it is literally like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. You're not addressing the root cause. And that can be really concerning if you leave it unaddressed for a long time. And so what we're asking you today is to flip the switch on your health. What if it isn't just about self-care? What if you became effective at the cellular care, right? That's what we're talking about, self-care tonight. And so our story is different. And this is where I was introduced to this company. It is an activation company. It's a nutrigenomics company called LifeVantage. And I was initially introduced to it in 2018 and said, I'm not interested, until I got on a call with a pediatrician and I heard a recording from a cardiologist and realized it was a legitimate company with full-on independent peer review studies on natural products. That's when I took a look. And it wasn't founded on the guys to make money in the wellness space. It is a $200 million company that erupted practically overnight when one of the single greatest cell care discoveries was made. And if you have not seen this ABC Primetime Investigative Report yet, I really recommend you watch it. There's a 3-minute version, I think an 8-minute, a 10-minute, a 12-minute version. Just depends on how deep you want to go. But Dr. Joe McCord, he was an award-winning scientist. He discovered superoxide dismutase, SOD, in the late 60s and devoted his entire career to it, anti-aging. And in that mid-2000s, developed the formula Protandim Nrf2. And ABC Primetime Investigative Report aired in 2005. And I really wish I'd known about it back then, because that's when our baby boy was born. And I really, truly believe if I'd known about it back then, we would have recovered his health way faster and I would not have burnt myself out. Yep. So it's what we talk about is the little yellow tablet. This is what we're talking about, the Protandim Nrf2. It is 5 herbs, 7 US patents, 10 international patents, and over 30 independent peer review studies. So that means that, all these health professionals have pulled it all apart and they've got the same results. It is proven. And it's proven to lower your oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days and up to 70% in 90 days, and activates over 600 survival genes and protects the DNA of the cell. Now, that to me, when I started to see that, I thought, why have I not heard about this before? And, these are not my words. These are well-respected universities, publications, all independent of the company. And it's why I took a serious look. Yeah, because let's face it, if you know, there's a lot of dodgy info out there, right? But you have a look at this. NRF2 is the guardian of health space, of health span, and the gatekeeper of species longevity, protecting against many age-related diseases, including cancer and neurodegeneration. Again, not my words, right? And when we look at the synergy of putting those 5 herbs together, yeah, it's 18 times more effective. Because when I first saw this, the ingredients, I thought I had major adrenal fatigue and I thought I'm already taking all that. And I have not been able to get out of that. Like any kind of stress, I'd crash again. I'd feel good. I'd start exercising again. I'd crash. 3 days in, I kid you not, I felt like I was back in my 20s. It's been extraordinary. And so you might be thinking, oh, I can go off and get all those ingredients and put it together myself. Well, yeah, you're not going to get the same results, unfortunately. Yeah, that's why we all use and recommend this 1 tablet a day. So yeah, as you can see, it's way more effective, 18 times more effective. And all I can say is once you have been on the product, and obviously we need to make sure that we're setting the realistic expectations. Like if you were starting today, you'd have to give it, if you were like close to 60 like me, a minimum of 6 months, because we say 1 bottle per decade that you've been on the planet, and that will be able to help you with your rebalancing. But I'll talk about that a little bit. And again, don't take my word for it. We have thousands of testimonials from customers all over the world. If you're not in our Facebook support group, again, ask the person who invited you to this call or shared the recording with you, and they can send you a private invitation to join our community. We have tens of thousands of people in this, before and afters. Yeah. And again, we're not here to claim, cure, mitigate, but it's extraordinary what happens when your body starts to work again. Because before activation, many of our protective survival genes are overexpressed. That's what you can see here with the high, or they're underexpressed. It's a bit like your piano is out of tune. And when you leave this for too long, it leads to disease and dysfunction. When you've been on the product, for me, for example, if I was starting today, 6 months, this is what happens. Homeostasis. Everything starts to balance out and starts to work again like we were in our 20s. Inflammatory markers can start to come down. Body can rest and restore. And it's not overnight, like I said. Yeah. So the good news is the sooner you start, the sooner you can start to turn those protective genes back on and moving in the right direction. So this is pretty much the product that we're talking about. And as a functional nutritional therapist, I say we eat the rainbow, right? Unless you've got, salicylate issues or histamine issues or something, well, that all stems down to the gut. But yeah, we can't just focus on eating antioxidants because we can't eat our way out of it. It's not going to solve the antioxidant stress, because functional food or even supplementation works as a 1-to-1 ratio, right? But we were all born with this pathway called NRF2, and it switches back on your antioxidant pathway. It is the youth pathway, right? It switches it back on so you can make your own antioxidants. Catalase, glutathione, SOD. I'm not going to go right into these, but they are way more powerful than eating or supplementing with antioxidants. And when we think about SOD, 1 SOD molecule can eliminate 1 million free radicals, which makes it super effective. And when we think about, we have 37 trillion cells, each making 1 SOD molecule, we will have 37 trillion by 1 million antioxidants. Like, that hurts my brain, right? I'm not a math geek. That's why I married my husband. But we're all about biohacking. We're all about tapping into what is natural, but far more effective. If there's a shortcut to be able to work effectively and naturally, I'm all for it. Yeah. So we're virtually switching that NRF2 pathway on. We're virtually putting the house fire out in minutes. Whereas when you're using food or supplements, we're trying to put that fire out with a glass of water. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. All right. And again, there's so many studies out there. So, for example, this company here, Biogen Iodec, is a company. They went out and did some research. What other NRF2 activator products are on the market? And so it was absolutely gobsmacked for me. And this is not a natural product, right? It's an MS drug. And when I saw this, it was a pediatrician that actually brought it to my attention. This product here, a toxic drug, they had to take it off the market because it was killing people. This is what I was using. It's broccoli sprouts, self-purifying. That's what it is here. And when you have a look at Protandim, NRF2 activator, it is 7 times more effective than what I was using. That's when I got peeved off because I hadn't heard of it before. 7 times more effective, right? 1 tablet a day. Okay, so now I'm going to touch on the mitochondria in regards to cellular stress. And this was what was happening with me significantly. Your mitochondria, when they become overwhelmed by stress, they do not work properly, right? And many scientists and myself included, we believe that it's the second most important component to good health, and it's your mitochondria. It is the battery in every single cell. It's a powerhouse of your cell, and your mitochondria are pretty much like you're plugging back into the power source. You know, you've built a beautiful home and there's no power. You've just turned the power on and you're firing, you're ready to go. And it produces ATP. And it's been average body, adult body contains about 10 million billion mitochondria, making up about 10% of your body weight. Yeah. And so ATP, the energy cannot be stored. So the mitochondria has to stay in good working order to continuously give you that energy. And so when we see dodgy, dysfunctional mitochondria, it leads to disease and dysfunction. So if you can optimize your mitochondria, you'll be healthier for longer. And when we look at mitochondria, we have, like I was saying, you know, we have about 10,000 mitochondrion per brain cell, heart cell, lung cell. It's way more than energy to go for a walk. It's energy to keep your heart pumping, inflate your lungs, etc. Our muscles have about 200 mitochondrion per muscle cell. Our ovaries, over 100,000 mitochondrion per ovary cell. And us women, we pass on our mitochondria to our babies. Our sons do not pass it on, our daughters do. So if we're passing on dodgy, dysfunctional mitochondria, that's what our babies have. And that's what happened to me, because I had dodgy, dysfunctional mitochondria. I grew up out west, central Queensland. It was nothing for me to be crop dusted. Chemicals. I had amalgams, amalgam fillings. Again, chemical load. Yeah. So when the mitochondria is working properly, it creates a lot of energy and a small amount of free radicals, oxidative stress. But when it's leaky, and if you've got leaky gut, you've got leaky mitochondria, you've got leaky hormones, you've got leaky blood-brain barrier. It is what it is. But it's not doom and gloom because we can get it under control. But when you have leaky, dodgy, dysfunctional mitochondria, it's producing stuff all ATP, energy, and a lot of free radicals. Yeah. And then that's when there is so many studies, and I've just got this screenshot to show you, but in the orange, this is where it is significant, like Parkinson's, my father-in-law that I was caring for, my son, who was, you know, level 3, severely autistic, you would not even know now as an adult. Yeah, it's extraordinary when you address the root cause. So how many people do you know with these issues? I was one of them. I was just dragging my feet and couldn't understand why I'd get up and do the dishes and have to lay back down. It was because I had dodgy mitochondria. And so we have a product called Protandim NRF1 Synergizer, and this helps to get your mitochondria up and going again. So then when you're making other mitochondria, because they take a copy and make a copy of a copy, it is functional, it is energized, and it is extraordinary. So it's approved by the Banned Substance Control Group, meaning we have Olympians on both the NRF2 and the NRF1. It's also listed with the NSF, which means it is independently tested for quality standards. And it's also listed with the TGA, which is the Australian regulator for therapeutic goods. So again, big tick for me. I know that it's backed and it's good quality functional food, because that's exactly what it is. So why take them together? Well, the NRF2, less oxidative stress. You start to make your own antioxidants. And then with the NRF1, more cellular energy. So it's optimal health, right? And that real clear communication. So LifeVantage offers way more products. And I'm not going to go through them all here tonight. If you want more information, then let us know. But what we see is that people come back to us saying they have less muscle and joint discomfort, more energy, more motivation, more focus, glowing skin, weight loss because their inflammatory markers come down, improved libido. Girls, if you get started, make sure you start first before getting your husbands or your partners on board, because trust me, it seems to kick in faster for them. It's not fair. So just a heads up, but improved bowels, better sleep, better mood, stronger immune system, because 70% of your immune system is in your gut and you need that working properly. You will never heal the gut while you have oxidative stress and mitochondrial dysfunction, and less inflammation, like I was saying. So we have so many customers. Like, I've been using and recommending these products for nearly 8 years, and I kid you not, I still have customers ordering every single month because they understand the science behind it. We educate, we pour into them. That's our community. We're all about empowering each other, and they keep coming back, right? And in our Facebook group, we have loads of info, helpful information, health professionals in there to answer questions. So we are a movement committed to impact the world around us with love, health, and entrepreneurship. And so it's pretty much, where do you get started? If you're open to learn more, if you're open to get started, here's a few different ways. You work out, what it is that you're wanting to get on top of. We've got products that are helping with cortisol, gut health, inflammatory markers like these two products. When you take these together, I kid you not, the studies show it reduces inflammatory markers by 97%. I cannot get any of these results just with food or supplementation. And that's why I've aligned myself with the company, because these products make me look good. Seriously, because then when I layer any other therapies or, supplementation or dietary changes on top, it accelerates the results because we've got the foundation sorted. And like Tina mentioned before, if you love supporting people, if you're like us and you're thinking of, all the family and friends or work colleagues, or if you have an appointment-based business and you're trying to get this information out there, like, people need to hear this, then reach out. We would love to have a chat with you and to see if this is the right fit. There's all different packages that you can get started on. You can get started on for as low as $55 and just place an order for yourself. There's all different ways to get started. Yeah. And so positioning, we do these info sessions, one bit to educate people, but also we have not even reached 1% of the population yet. People deserve to know what's going on. So you can see here, we're the early adopters, and this is the US over here, and we have not even reached, stabilization where people know who we are and what we're doing. And a lot of people say, well, I'm not a health professional. Can I do this? Absolutely. Busy mums and dads do this. We do have fitness professionals, and we do have wellness professionals and influencers. We also have medical professionals. Like I said, we've got cardiologists, we've got pediatricians, we've got anaesthetists, nurses, orthopedic surgeons, chiropractors. Yeah. We also have people who have had health clinics. They've retired and they're doing this full time now. They love it. They love educating people and catching up with people. So our vision over the next 10 years is to help 1 million people achieve cell care and cut the stress in their lives, and help 1,000 families become debt-free, moving their family forward with better health, more time, and more money. So it's just a matter of getting in where you fit in. You either become a customer or join us and become an ambassador. You get an affiliate link and you can share it. Yep, it's as simple as that. And it's just about laying the foundations. We can all reach our true potential once we identify what's underlying. Yeah, we remove what's harming, we replenish with what's healing, and activate the body so it works as nature intended, instead of falling apart, right? Because we've got dodgy foundations. And it's also about now and into the future. So we're then passing our knowledge on to the next generation, letting them know there is a way forward. And it's also understanding that our life does not get better by chance, it gets better by change. And it's about surrounding yourself with the like-minded people who are here to educate you and support you and hold your hand every step of the way. So I hope you found this helpful. We have gone a bit over. I do apologize, but if you are open, if you are coachable, if you're interested in learning more, If you're motivated and want to make that real change for you, your family and community, please, please go back to the person who cared enough to get you on this call. All right. Thank you so much, Tina. I'll hand back over to you. Hope you all have a wonderful evening.
Absolutely brilliant, Rhonda. You know, I've been listening to you for 6 years and I can listen to you all the time. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Kelly, as well, for sharing your beautiful story. So in summary, to use Kelly's words that she shared with me earlier, let's not just chase symptoms. Let's understand and support the foundations of our body. It's just absolutely incredible. So watch this space. We are going to have a deep dive into our True Science liquid collagen. Rhonda showed that a few times today, that little bottle. Absolutely amazing product, especially when we combine it with our little yellow tablet that she was referring to. So thank you, everybody. It's been brilliant to have you here and to spend your evening or some of your evening with us. So we really look forward to seeing you on our next call. Have a beautiful evening. Thank you all so very much.